Hi, I'm Ben,
And I'm Tristan.
and this is RWBY Ramblings, Episode 9, where we're going to talk about the Yang character short.
Yes, and we have in the past two Blake and Weiss character shorts, we have been calling them trailers, and although in a sense that is completely accurate,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of their actual title, it is not. So apologies if that confused anyone.
Yep, just a minor detail there. And so much like our previous videos for the character shorts, we are going to be splitting this into two sections because we have both already seen Volume 5, and we are going to first talk about the character short as though we had not already seen Volume 5, and then
Yes.
afterwards we can discuss it with spoilers.
Yes, so typical non-spoiler section, and then break off into a spoiler section. Uh, yeah. Is there anything else you want to mention before we get into it?
Yes, it is actually true that for this video I am double non-spoilering because when Volume 5 was actually being released, I went to one of the Volume 5 Episode 1 pre-screenings in the movie theaters. So I actually got to see the first episode before I saw the Yang character short. So I'm going to review this as though I hadn't already seen the first episode.
That's good. I unfortunately was unable to go to the pre-screening,
It was
and
cool.
although I do find it humorous that people saw the first episode of Volume 5 before they saw the Yang trailer. Not exactly sure what that would really do, but I mean, there's actually a lot you can probably get from the first episode beforehand. But anyway,
We'll get there.
we will get there.
We'll get there.
Worry not. Anyway, shall we?
Yes.
Alrighty. 10 seconds of motorcycle sounds.
It's an avant-garde way to start the trailer for sure.
Yep. Black screen. 10 seconds of motorcycle sound. What do you think about that?
Well, initially I was pretty confused because I didn't understand it was motorcycle sounds.
Okay.
And the first time I watched it, I wasn't really sure if the video was playing. Just a black screen. Wasn't sure if it was buffering.
That's fair.
But after watching the whole trailer and when we see her at the end on her motorcycle, it kind of, it finally clicked for me,
Okay.
and it made sense. And it's sort of an interesting way to give the video like bookends.
Yeah. I kind of liked it because I felt that it transitioned well from the end of Volume 4 of, oh, she's riding her motorcycle somewhere. And then we now get the intro of this trailer being motorcycle sounds, and then besides the fact that the title of it is Yang's character short, you can kind of tell, oh, hey, who's the one character in the show that we've seen with a motorcycle? Yang. And I think the purpose of the black screen might have been to show that, oh, it's some sort of thought process, and it's going to transition into what we see to be a flashback. So.
Right. And to clarify, she's riding her motorcycle somewhere, air quotes. We
Yeah.
know she's riding her motorcycle to either Ruby or Raven, but we don't know who. It's left up in the air at the end of Volume 4.
Yeah, we're not. I mean, we're gonna talk about this later, but I think she's going to Ruby.
Yes, and
Yes.
yeah, I think this trailer lends to that, but we'll get there.
Yes, we will. Alrighty. After the 10 seconds of motorcycle sounds, we are then opened with Ruby being knocked onto the ground.
Nice.
Yep. Great way to intro that.
So it seems like Ruby and Yang are sparring or practicing.
Yes,
Specifically their hand-to-hand combat.
correct. Which, for Ruby, as we saw in Volume 3 in her interaction with Mercury, is not very good.
Yeah, definitely something she needs to work on.
Yes. Well, she doesn't believe she needs to work on it, which is fair because she's a weapon nerd and has her lovely, lovely sniper rifle Scythe, which, once again, frickin' awesome.
Right, and clearly this training didn't do much since this is a flashback that takes place before when we see her lose her hand-to-hand or be effectively not very effective when she's
Yes.
using hand-to-hand.
That's true. But once again, that was against Mercury, who also seems to be very good at
That's true,
hand-to-hand
Mercury's
combat.
really good.
Yeah, but to speak on that, after Yang helps Ruby back up, and they go at it again, I actually felt that although Yang was clearly going easy, that Ruby did a decent job of like dodging and blocking. Like I mean, although it kind of seemed like a little bit flaily. it
to be
seemed
expected.
it seemed coordinated enough that it was kind of like, okay, she sees like openings and she goes for them. Like she went for a punch against Yang, which did not turn out well because Yang just kind of dodged it, tripped her, and the smile on her face when she dodged it was great. She was just kind of like, come on, sis, really, really, like what an amateur move. Tripped her and then punched her, and then Ruby gets away with her semblance.
Yep. And just a little before that, just to reiterate,
Mhm.
Ruby is like, oh, why can't I have Crescent Rose? Which kind of just reiterates the whole point of this sparring session.
Yeah, it's so Yang feels better about the fact that her sister is going to be left behind and that she can maybe handle a situation in case she ever gets disarmed.
Right, and also in that same time, that's when we get sort of the time frame for when this trailer is taking place. We get confirmed that it's a flashback because Yang says, I'm about to leave for Beacon. I want my little sister to be able to defend herself while I'm away.
Yes.
So, kind of interestingly, this seems to be also before Ruby gets her invitation to go to Beacon.
Yes.
Because obviously she's younger than Yang and she gets invited up by Oz.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Yang seems to believe she's staying behind. So that gives us sort of a very specific time frame for when this is.
Yeah, it puts in all the flashback. Pretty much for all these character shorts, all the flashbacks have been before the initial Volume 1
Yes.
content. So it just puts them all in perspective of this is all just a little bit more background of all our lovely little characters. But yeah. Alrighty. So Ruby dashes off into the forest, and Yang talks about how that was nice, but you can't always run away from your problems. Sometimes you have to stand and fight, which for me, that feels like that is Yang's like a philosophy that she follows in life and in fights.
Right, yes. It's certainly something that she believed, and then it was reinforced in Volume 4 when she actually had to face something that was extremely traumatic for her.
Yeah.
And it took her some time to, in some counseling, to get through it, which, was the whole volume.
Yeah.
But eventually we saw her resolve only strengthen by that.
Yeah, and I don't know if she necessarily, that you would say that, because I think she firmly believes believed it, and then after her traumatic experience, her sense of self kind of wavered because something that's pretty big is that her confidence and her fighting ability. So to lose like her right arm
Definitely,
is
yes.
a huge blow to that, to her confidence and her fighting ability. So I can definitely see how it would affect her psyche in a way of like, oh, now I can't protect the people in the way I want to, which, as you said, then she's counseled and brought up. So I don't know if it's not necessarily she lost it. It's more that it kind of got buried under trauma.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. And I can talk more about that later when we get to talking about the song. Because I think that has stuff that ties into it, for sure.
Oh, certainly. Oh, goodness gracious.
But back to the quote where Yang says, you're not always going to be able to run away from your problems. Sometimes you just have to stand and fight no matter what.
Yeah.
So what that reminded me of, and what it kind of keyed me into, is that in all 3 trailers, it seems like there's this sort of common theme. Okay. Because Yang says this, obviously, to Ruby in this trailer.
Yes.
In the Weiss trailer, Winter says to Weiss, you have to get better. You have to get stronger.
Yes.
If you ever want to leave.
Yeah.
And then in the Blake trailer, there's also the theme of having to stand and face your problems when Blake has this run-in with Ilya. Okay. Because she kind of avoids it there, but we know that they're eventually going to have to come face to face. So, yeah, to me, if you take it all like that it's all this common theme of having to face your problems, I think it's just foreshadowing for what is going to come in Volume 5. Because I think pretty obviously all of these characters, they're going to have to come to some kind of head with the storylines that they've been building up through all of Volume 4.
So you're arguing that these trailers, character shorts, whatever you choose to call them, are kind of a introduction to the issues that these characters are currently trying to deal with and arguably have been dealing with almost their entire lives.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'm just saying that foreshadowing is something you should come to expect.
Oh, yeah. You have mentioned this more than I have, but foreshadowing in RWBY is a thing that they really like to do, and it is really lovely. And when you rewatch things, you feel mixed feelings.
Can confirm.
Yes. Alrighty. So, RWBY dashes into the forest, and what comes out? Not our little Red Riding Hood-esque character. Instead, it's a bear. Well,
Yep.
specifically a grim bear.
Yes, there's an Ursa just wandering around, I guess,
Yep.
and it pops out.
Yep. It's in the middle of the forest. It's kind of fair.
Yeah, and on that note, there was one thing that I was just kind of thinking about while I was watching the trailer.
Sure.
Which is, so I was just thinking about, Grimm wandering about the wilderness.
As they do.
It just, yeah, as they do. And it just made me think about, well, I thought, where exactly are Yang and RWBY physically?
Okay.
And so they're near their home,
Probably.
which is on the island of Patch.
Okay.
Which is where Signal Academy is.
Sure.
And I don't know, I just thought it was weird that it was it's presumably somewhat close to their house, and there's just
Mhm.
Grimm wandering. It doesn't seem very safe.
I mean, the world of Remnant's not safe.
I mean, you're right, but I don't know. We know their house is kind of isolated in the middle of the woods. And
Yeah.
It just feels a little weird. And we know it's a dangerous place because we know that earlier in their backstories they were almost killed by a
Right.
pack of beowulfs.
Yeah.
Um,
To be saved by Crow. Yeah.
and if you think about it,
Uh-huh.
in the Red trailer,
Yeah.
presumably RWBY's in roughly the same location.
I don't know about that.
Because her mom's grave is
Ah, yes. That is fair.
definitely by their house, which is
yes,
on Patch.
that is true.
And there are a lot of Beowulfs in that trailer, and I don't know how much we can consider that strictly canon, because obviously it was the first piece of RWBY content. So
Yes.
I probably didn't have all the details fleshed out at that point,
Uh-huh.
but there's a lot of Grimm.
I mean, I would imagine Beowulfs being arguably wolves that they would hunt in packs. So I don't find it necessarily overly shocking that there would be a whole bunch
There were
of them
100
there.
of them.
I don't know about that, but
There were.
oh, okay. Well, we can get to that. Well, arguably would have already talked about that, but
We will get to that. We've already talked about that.
Yeah, and if that's confusing, check the date that this was published.
Anyway, so yeah, it just made me think about that, and also
Okay.
it's sort of this is not related at all, but obviously the names are important.
Yes.
In RWBY, we it's kind of the whole thing, with the naming scheme, whatever.
A big part of it,
I don't know, what's up with Beacon, Signal,
yeah. Uh-huh.
and also Patch to a lesser extent. I feel is some sort of techie word. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
I don't know. There's probably nothing there, but I just I wonder what they're going for.
I have a feeling there is something there. I mean, Beacon, Signal, Haven.
Yeah.
They all kind of have light-esque kind of vibes for it, almost like signal flares. So I think that's maybe something they're going for, is that they are the light of civilization almost kind of thing.
Okay.
Because
I buy that.
Because in one way, when you really think about hunters, what's their occupation? Pretty much to save the world.
Okay, I just want to point out that in doing some research for this video, I was looking up the names of continents and place names.
Yeah.
I didn't know this, but the name of the academy in Vacuo is Shade.
Oh man, that's interesting.
Which sort of goes so it's probably specific to continent as to what sort of thing they're going for.
Yeah.
But yes, the name of the Huntsman Academy in Vacuo is Shade.
Is Shade, which is a product of light, though.
Okay, true. But then you also have in Mistral, Haven, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. I was just I got Mistral and Haven mixed up. I forgot which was which.
Oh, that's fine.
Because I wanted to say about Mistral, when you look up what Mistral means,
Yeah.
it's the definition is very specific.
Okay.
It's a northwesterly wind which blows through France at this specific time.
That sounds great.
Anyway, yeah, I don't. Back to the trailer.
I mean, I don't. That's fine. We can talk about different things that we've looked up and found interesting.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I don't think I know enough
about what they're going for, but it's There's probably something there.
Oh, there's probably an amazing connection that you can plot out on a large graph and figure it out. But that is not what we're here to do. That is not what we're here to do today.
Maybe we'll get to do that one day.
One of these days, maybe we will have a giant Venn diagram. But for today, we are talking about Yang fighting a bear. A grim bear. Anyway, so Ursa roars in a great manner,
Good
announcing
description.
its presence and having a little tongue. It's great. Yang, noticing this, jumps into the fray. Oh, one more thing I want to point out first. Sorry, this is a little bit beforehand, but they jump to a first-person point of view for when she is looking in the woods to see where Ruby is, and I like that. It was a nice little shift.
Yeah, it's good to see them change that up because I don't know if they've done that before. I don't think they have.
It's possible they did in Volume 4.
But
I do
it's
not recall.
Totally possible. I don't remember.
Yes. Anyway, so Yang jumps into the fray, starts fighting this Bayo. Ursa.
I always get those confused, to be fair.
Okay. Starts fighting this Ursa. I like how she uses her shotgun gauntlets to propel herself and to dodge and then add a little bit more oomph to her punches.
Mhm.
Also, she blocks the Ursa's swing with one arm and stands her ground. That's insane to me.
I think it's worth noting that this is Yang pre her training
Yes.
by Tai, and I mean actually pre any of her training at all through the course of the series.
Yes.
This being, before the series.
Mhm.
And I think that, like, she does a pretty good job of fighting the Ursa, but I think it kind of shows in this fight. Because I feel like they're, not to sound too much like Winter, but I feel like there are a couple of mistakes she makes in this fight that, like,
Okay.
she probably is less prone to make after her training, or after her, any of her training.
That's interesting because after watching this fight,
Because,
I felt that Yang was I was very impressed with how
Okay.
Yang
I
fought.
mean, I was watching it pretty critically, to be
Okay.
fair.
Because I remember thinking that the very first time I was kind of like, wow, Yang's fighting is really cool,
Right,
was
for
in
sure.
her, in the yellow trailer.
The very first time you saw
The
Yang
very-
fight.
But then after that, I wasn't very impressed until I played Grim Eclipse. Because then she had some of the combos again where she used her gauntlets to propel herself. And I was like, okay, this is the fighting that I remember Yang doing and being very impressed with.
That's
so
fair.
to see it again here, I was so happy.
Okay, that's
I
fair.
was very impressed with her use of her guns because I love creative use of guns and weapons to get the edge. And I felt that Yang did that beautifily.
I couldn't tell by the fact that you like RWBY that you enjoy the creative use of guns.
I know, right? But anyway, yeah.
No, you're right. It was good to see. But just like some of the things that I noticed, like specifically in the beginning of the fight, and maybe this is nitpicky,
Okay.
but like first of all, she runs straight at the Grim, which she didn't have to do, just wasting resources there. Also, after she jumps
Okay.
at the Grim, she does like 2 punches to the Grim's leg, which are like without her shotgun fist and are ineffective. And then she like does a normal punch with the shotgun fist, which is similarly ineffective. And she's just like, I don't know.
I mean, I think, first of all, I don't think it was ineffective because the Ursa cries out after with that shotgun boosted punch. That's one. Two, I think that's gauging how much her punches actually do.
Okay, maybe. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Because also, if you start just using your shotgun bursts all of the time, I imagine one, recoil. I imagine that's not fun to deal with. And two, ammo.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, managing resources. Because most of the time she uses a shotgun punch, it's at the Ursa's face. That is when she primarily starts using it after that first gut shot.
Right.
Or if she's just firing shots at it. Which, in my opinion, that would be seemingly a waste of resources to me, is when she's just kind of like firing at it from a little bit afar because it's a shotgun. But anyway, we are potentially getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. Also, this is when the song starts, so...
Yes.
Right. So, do you want to... I guess we'll talk about the song that when it breaks, like for the first time and then again after. Or
Yeah,
do
we
you
can go back and talk about it.
Sure. But anyway...
Or we can talk about it now if you want.
no.
All right.
We're not done.
Okay.
Oh, one thing I wanted to talk about is that you comment that she kind of like jumps into the fray, and it's like, oh, she didn't really have to do that. Um, with her fighting style of getting up close and personal, being the initiator is probably the best thing she could do.
I don't know.
Like, do you want to give that bear the room to get momentum and charge at you? I wouldn't.
I'm just saying.
If you are intending to actually fight the thing, I found that pretty smart for someone who primarily uses hand-to-hand combat.
I'm just saying, the thing that I'm kind of reaching for here, and it's clear at the end of the fight.
Okay.
Is that this is kind of an example of Yang's essential Yangness pre-training, where she seems very like, I don't know, I guess sort of single-minded in her fighting.
Okay.
And that, well, specifically what Taiyang says to her is he talks about how it seems like she always wants to go through the obstacles that in front of her.
Yes.
Where if she like just stands back and thinks about it, she might find that there's a way around.
Okay.
So it's maybe not that apparent here, but specifically at the end of the fight, which we'll get to, I think it's more of an example of that.
Okay, I can definitely see, and
like, you're right, the fighting is cool.
Okay.
She does a good job.
Okay. But okay, bringing that up, you are probably correct that the smartest thing to do is not charge the thing, but in terms of her typical fighting style, that is, or pre-training, the fighting style that she really knows.
Oh, definitely.
Is to go through the obstacles.
That's what I would expect of her at this point.
Correct. So, okay, I can definitely see why you are starting to be a little bit nitpicky, because of how much potential is there if she just thinks about it a little bit more.
Right.
Okay, that's good. All right.
Did you have more to say about this part of the fight?
She fires missiles out of her shotgun gauntlets, which
Yes.
I didn't. The first time that happened, I saw that was in Grim Eclipse. I went, when did she ever do that in the show? And now she does it here, so I'm very happy that they tied that in, because I don't remember her ever firing missiles.
I feel like she probably does at some point.
Okay.
Honestly, I can't remember off the top of my head, which is awful, but she probably does it at some point, whether it be in the Mercury fight or...
It's not in the Mercury fight.
Okay.
I rewatched that and specifically looked out for... I watched all of her fights
okay.
and looked out for those missiles.
Okay, that's good. So you didn't see it in any of the...
I did not. I just saw her take the pot shots that she did at the Ursa, where she kind of just like throws punches and they throw out the shotgun bursts instead of like actually doing the missiles, which is the first time I ever saw that was Grim Eclipse.
Doesn't she do it in
she might do it against the robot, the fight against.
Okay, I was thinking about that, but also I was thinking about the fight versus the Nevermore in.
Ooh, that's possible too.
Because like the scene when they're all like on the ridge and they're all using ranged attacks or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like she uses missiles there.
It's possible. I could be incorrect in this. I only looked at the fights where she fought someone pretty much one-on-one, or in the one example where she fought Flint and Neon with Weiss. She does not use the missiles in any of those occurrences, but it is possible she used them in another. If I am incorrect, that is okay. Please point that out. But anyway, I believe that is all I have to say about this aspect. Shall we start talking about
Ignite?
Yes.
Yeah, what did you think of this song?
I like it.
Me
I like
too.
it a lot. It really it fits Yang a lot, and especially how she is pre-training.
Yes,
like,
definitely.
Hugely. It is almost entirely pre-training, which almost like pretty much all the songs from these character shorts, we are ignoring Smile probably because to argue that is Blake's song.
That's not a Blake song.
Is most likely not a Blake song unless at some point she comes in. But in terms of Path of Isolation being Weiss's song, that is very, in my opinion, very
Right, it seems like it.
Beacon.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. It seems like this song is very. I mean, if you don't know the lyrics, you should look them up.
They're fun.
But the whole first part of the song, which is like, "Hello there, my enemy. Welcome to my punching spree." Blah blah blah.
Yes.
It's very like she's very like bragging and tough.
And cocky.
She's like, yeah, exactly. She's cocky. She's like,
so
I'm
cocky.
the best. I'm gonna beat you up.
Yeah. Didn't your mother warn you?
Exactly.
Now she's gonna mourn you. Like, gosh. Oof. Yeah, no, she pretty much is just saying how she's gonna beat the crud out of whatever she's going on against. She's on fire today. Which, when she was going around and doing, like, propelling herself and punching the thing, I couldn't argue against that.
You're right. It fits. Thinking in the context of it being a song about Yang
Yes.
pre the whole series makes sense. I was
Yes.
thinking about it more in the context of this doesn't really fit the Yang we saw in Volume 4 very well.
Ooh,
Because she's
no.
a lot more down to earth than.
She is at the crash and burn part of the song.
Yes.
Some lessons are hard to learn.
Yes, that's right.
That is exactly, like, that points directly to Volume 4, unfortunately, where she has crashed and burned. But yeah, also scathing eyes that see from only one side. I think that line directly points to the fact that she relies on her semblance at times.
I don't know if you know this, but actually that line is pretty important because
Okay.
or that series of lines is pretty important because it is a direct callback to the quote that is on the original Yellow trailer before the trailer begins, the on-screen quote, which reads, "Scathing eyes ask that we be symmetrical, one-sided, and easily processed. Yet every misshapen spark's unseen beauty is greater than its would-be judgment."
Ooh.
And so the line in that song, which is, every misshapen spark suffers
Yes.
judgment and pain, etc., etc.
Yes.
This is a direct callback to the
To
original
that.
Yellow trailer's quote.
Ooh. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, so if you want to directly compare those two, this one says that you pretty much should look at things in a more, I guess, logical manner almost.
No, let's
No.
break this down.
Okay, let's do this.
All right, because I said it quickly. So so the first part of the quote from the Yellow trailer
Yeah.
is, "Scathing eyes ask that we be symmetrical, one-sided, and easily processed."
Okay.
So what's that saying? It's saying that scathing eyes, people who are being judgmental,
Yes.
they think that everything should be like sort of samey, easy to
Uh-huh.
comprehend,
Yes.
predictable.
Okay.
The next part is,
Yet
every misshapen
Mhm.
spark's unseen beauty is greater than its would-be judgment, which is a little confusing at first, but
Yeah.
what I think this basically means is that, but if you do judge it like that, then you're losing something, which
Yes.
is the misshapen spark's unseen beauty.
Yes. I can agree with that interpretation that if you look at things too simply, you miss how complex and amazing it actually is.
Right,
Okay.
which can apply. I mean, obviously, it's very topical with Yang because
Yeah.
it can apply to both how people think about Yang,
Mm-hmm.
because she can appear to be sort of like, I don't know, maybe just like silly or simple or
Straightforward.
punchy.
Yeah.
I like literally punching things, not like
Yes.
yeah,
No, I
other
know.
adjective. And yeah, so it goes to show that she is a multifaceted character, especially after the events of Volume 4.
Yes.
When we see her go through that personal growth, but
I mean, I think you see a little bit here in terms of how her priorities are in caring for her sister.
right, yeah, that's a good point. That too. I mean, and even before then, it's like obviously as we see in this trailer, she cares a huge deal for other people
Yes.
and her sister, and she's compassionate, and maybe you wouldn't get that just from like a brief survey of her
Yeah.
personality when she seems like cocky and the original Yang trailer, whatever.
Okay.
But I mean, also I think it ties into it's again with the lesson about how Yang sees the world and how she's supposed to see the world.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe less so, but about I guess just how it's better to like get a more complex view of things,
Interesting.
not think about things so simple, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because I kind of felt that was how Yang views things, like kind of maybe a little bit too simply, and that how
Okay,
she kind of
yeah.
like jumps into the fray a little bit,
Right. Yeah.
a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
bit too much. But you bringing up that this is actually a continuous theme of kind of Yang's development and such, I think that carries a little bit of weight than like looking at things too simply, as she does maybe with fighting, of like, oh, I need to break, just simply overpower them instead of out logic and then like get the upper hand. Is maybe a better way to look at it, but I don't know. Thank you very much for bringing that up. I had no idea how significant that quote was. I just liked it.
Yeah. It makes it much more impactful.
Yeah.
The song choice and the lyric choice.
Yeah.
And like, thanks, Jeff Williams.
Good job.
Good job. Keep it up.
Please do. Alrighty. So that is the end of the song, and then it breaks into the Ruby wakes up. Oh, actually, well, first Ursa knocks Yang out of the park. Which, one thing I want to mention beforehand, she blocks the paw again with one arm and stands her ground, which I still find insane. That she has enough just vigor to just like, bam, stop this. Then she like grabs it, puts it over her hand, flips it over, punches it, and like, it's great. It's great. Although at time, and then of course her propelling and dodging, like slipping between the Ursa's legs with propulsion, and then keep herself in the air slightly longer so she can do a spinning heel kick right in its face. Classically amazing. But
that's the kind of fighting we like to see.
Yeah, it was, barring the initial yellow trailer, this is probably my favorite fight I have seen Yang in.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Okay. Because
just because like I like other fights more for their like plot wise importance.
Okay.
But like in terms of actual just combat, like I see what you're saying.
Yeah, in terms of skill, I think this is my favorite, not interpretation, but favorite display of Yang's raw fighting prowess.
Yeah, which, you know, again, kind of bodes well for the fights we hope to see in Volume 5.
This is true. We hope to see more of Yang using, because clearly she's skilled, but maybe thinking a little bit more and using her skill and to her advantage, instead of maybe just, I'm gonna punch this guy real hard. But anyway, it turns out doesn't really matter how skilled she is, because the Ursa, if he ever actually gets it, I guess, if it ever gets a claw on her, it can knock her out of the park and with enough force that knocks down trees.
Yep.
Which, holy crud.
That happens.
Yep. And then that's when the song cuts. Which, interestingly, when she gets knocked out, that is when the scathing eye reference, that is when that ends. So I think that is actually a really good parallel to maybe the way that, this is, like, maybe Yang thinks a little bit too straightforwardly in terms of fighting. Like, she keeps trying to jump at it and, like, put the credit out of it, when that's not the way to do it. Wow, this is really good. I didn't even realize how happy I was until now that you brought that up.
Woo! Yeah, let's just keep patting ourselves on the back here.
Nah.
Anyway.
That's not what we're here for.
Anyway. So Yang gets knocked out, and then RWBY, who I guess was sort of like knocked unconscious.
Yeah.
Which,
I don't know what that was about.
Sure.
Maybe she like overexerted herself when she used her semblance?
Well. So what I'm picturing happened is she just like super speeded straight into a tree.
I was thinking that as well, but there wasn't a tree in the area.
I mean, there
are trees in the area.
There were actually several trees in the area.
No, but she wasn't like right under one.
I don't find that hard to disbelieve.
Okay. Anyway,
a great way to get like brain damage or something.
Oh gosh.
Who knows how fast she goes when she's, super speeding or whatever.
Yeah,
she goes pretty fast.
She goes pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
But is she corporal when she does that?
I mean,
assumingly.
Yeah, probably.
The only reason I question that is because when she kind of turns into
when she doesn't get past Mercury.
Right, Mercury just hits her. Yeah, you're right. Okay, thank you.
Cool.
All right. But yeah, Ruby gets up, walks back. They have another nice first-person view of her looking around the tree and saying, "Oh shit, that's an Ursa." As a logical response, she gasps, instantly realizing that's a poor life choice.
Yes, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as then the Ursa notices her.
Yes. Ursa notices her, and then does a nice little dig claws into ground and charges. Which, terrifying, and Yang saying, "Oh shit, my sister is in trouble," launches herself into the fray. Ruby,
Surprise.
as her reaction, hilariously lifts up her fist like she's about about to fist fight
Like
it.
she can do anything.
Like she can do anything in that scenario with her fists. But I like the fact that she tried.
That's true.
That her initial reaction was, "Oh gosh, I have to fist fight this thing." I'll try. I don't want to know how that would turn out. It's not hard to guess, considering Yang, who is considerably better at hand-to-hand combat, can still get knocked out of the park.
But Ruby could have
easy.
just ran away.
Ruby, yeah, but then where's her sister? Like, I don't think Ruby would have abandoned Yang.
That's true.
Yeah. But anyway, what happens next is kind of brutal. Just numb.
Yeah, I don't really know how. This to me looks super awkward. Like when Yang jumps, like I'm not really sure how the angles work out such that she gets in the groom's mouth.
Yeah.
But
that is shown off screen.
I'm willing to let that go.
Uh-huh.
But I just want to point out that, like, yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah, I felt that was awkward, well, especially the way that.
It's just awkward.
Yeah, I also felt that the way that Yang was like, how Yang's little, not ragdoll because she's not dead, but how her body was essentially. Okay, how her ragdoll was kind of like, it seemed very, very awkwardly, just kind of very solid.
Which is maybe a knock against the animation we're hoping to see in Volume 5.
Maybe, but I don't know. Overall, I mean, first of all, assuming that she just. Actually, this kind of points that Yang just kind of jumps in first, thinks second. Like, she just kind of jumped in.
You're right.
And then the Ursa just kind of like is charging. It has its mouth open. And it's just like, I appear to have found something in my mouth.
Yes, there was probably a better solution for Yang there.
Yeah.
Rather than jumping in the Ursa's mouth.
Yeah, like she just kind of jumped, and it just so happened that the Ursa, because you can see clearly that while it was charging, its mouth was open. And it just happened that she ran right in front of it. And then the Ursa just happened to be right in front and just closed down because, like, oh, there's something in my mouth. Oh, okay, I don't need to leave. I don't need you here. Like, so in that way, it's not that's necessarily awkward. It's more that Yang made a fatal mistake.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So that's actually, I think that's a very interesting way to look at it because it really does point to what you were talking about
I hadn't really
earlier.
thought about it in that way, as such of as a fatal mistake, like you're pointing out, but it definitely is. You're right.
It is.
Like, it's kind of dumb of her.
It is. It's what you were talking about, how she kind of jumps in first, trying to solve the problem without thinking about how to solve the problem. So, I mean, you just see, she just kind of sees the scenario, instantly just propels herself right in.
Wanting to protect her sister.
Yeah, which is fair.
Yeah.
But probably not the best way to do it. Like, she kind of, like, called out Ruby, like, maybe get her attention or something, like, just get out
Launch
of there.
a missile. I don't
Well,
know.
I think launching a missile would have taken too much time, and I don't think the Ursa would have cared. If you saw what that did to the Ursa the first time, it got the Ursa's attention last time she used it.
Right.
It was just to get its attention. Like, she threw it, then it turned her. It's like, oh, you weren't dead yet? Like, I hit you. You weren't dead? Oh, I see. I guess I need to kill you now. Is how I interpreted that scenario when she fired the missile.
That's probably true, yeah. Anyway, either way, she ends up in the Ursa's mouth, and we see her aura break.
Yes. And then she gets thrown, and Ruby says, Yang. And then
Yang's good old never-fail strategy kicks in.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah. So we see her eyes turn red, so her semblance is activated.
Yep.
And
it's at the peak possible form since her aura's broken.
Right. Sure.
Most likely.
I'm not 100% sure how that works.
Okay, that's
but
fair.
Yeah, like I buy it.
I mean, I've always believed that it's just as the more damage she takes, the stronger she gets.
Right. If you were thinking about it like almost in like video game terms, where there's
Yes.
like a threshold and like
Correct.
it maxes out when she's at 0 semblance or
Yes.
whatever.
Or zero
Aura,
aura.
sorry, not
Yes.
semblance.
That is what I was thinking. Yes.
Yeah, then that makes sense. I don't know if that's like 100% how it works
No.
in quote unquote real life,
That's true.
but yeah, I know what you
Okay.
mean.
Anyway, she has her power level has definitely gone up. Let's go with that.
Yes.
Yeah. Jumps off the tree, using her right hand, delivers a punch that the Ursa's like, okay, I'm gonna block. Ow. The Ursa tries to block it, and it's like, and then a shockwave goes blowing away.
Many shockwaves, yes.
Yeah, and then the Ursa's arm breaks.
Yep.
It just contorts in its body.
Kind of
And
terrifying.
then the Ursa goes, ah. Understandably, the Ursa is not happy with this scenario. And then the force of them clashing sends them both propelling in different directions, the Ursa going forward and then dying immediately. Which I don't think that was a one-shot kill, because she's clearly done some damage to it.
Yeah.
But if we want to speak in like video game or D&D texts or terms, the Ursa was certainly not bloodied by the time she did that. Was probably not even close to being bloodied.
Yeah. No, you're right. She does a lot with that. And I think
Yeah.
that, I mean, this is obviously what I was talking about when I was saying that this is like the sort of the classic Yang, where we see in the situation that she makes like questionable decisions.
Yes.
And then she uses her semblance as
To
a get out
of it.
as a get out of jail free card
Yep.
to just win the fight. And this
Yep.
is just a perfect example of that and what Tai Ying's talking about when he tells her that, etc. This is the problem with her fighting style.
Yeah.
Because it is.
I actually think it's more telling in the Neon and Flint fight that she
Mhm.
just relied so much on her semblance, because essentially
absolutely,
she
you're right.
she hadn't done anything pretty much in that entire fight until her semblance kicked in.
She gets wrecked by Neon.
She
In
gets
the first part of that fight.
destroyed because she is just so flustered.
Yeah.
She just isn't thinking at all.
You're right.
Yeah. And then eventually when her semblance kicked in, and then she powered through Flint's trumpet blast of awesomeness, and just sends a shockwave right back at him, which knocks him out. And then when Neon trips, which never miss a beat, failed.
Also, Yang shoots a ranged thing at Neon to knock her out.
You're right. She does. You know, that's actually probably a missile. Well, I'm glad we clarified that, and that I was just kind of wrong.
It's okay.
Oh no, I for some reason that just never clicked with me. That was probably a missile, because it didn't look like a missile, because it kind of just went like wee.
A spark, maybe?
Yeah, it kind of just looked like a spark.
You could say?
Yeah.
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 Mm.
I don't know, this character that's fire and sparks, who knows. But anyway, she defeats the Ursa, and then barrels into a tree.
Yeah, I'm glad she didn't like break her spine or something.
Yeah, I'm glad she didn't actually get hurt from that. I mean,
That was a good angle to hit the tree at. Like, it was a very comfortable tree hitting angle.
Well, first she goes like head first into the ground, tumbles,
I mean,
goes.
She tumbles a little bit, but like she doesn't hit the tree head on. She hits
No.
the tree nicely so that she like ends
With
up
her
leaning against
back.
it.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the back of her head also hits the tree.
Yeah, well, she was fine,
I mean, yeah, she's a tough cookie.
but she's.
So she was gonna
she's
be
fortunate
okay.
she didn't get hurt. This is why we should
I
spar in
agree.
VR.
Okay. So I think the reason why they went they went out there because they wanted to avoid Tai Yang's fatherly gaze of like, oh hey, let me go in there and help, and Yang's like, Dad, I don't need you to help me teach my sister how to fight, and Ruby was like, Tai, she's not letting me use my Crimson Rose. and then it would be a whole fiasco. Instead, you just go off into the forest,
You're right. The trade-off for the safety versus potential awkward father moments is definitely worth it.
They're teenagers.
You're right.
They would see their father potentially embarrassing them probably a little bit higher than potentially being mauled by a bear.
Okay, sure.
I'm not saying that's logical. I'm just saying it's potentially their thought process. Also, I don't think they thought they'd run into a Grim.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe the Grims have like seasonal things, like, oh hey, it's bear season. Oh, this time of year there shouldn't really be Ursa around. Oh no, why is there one here?
I have no idea what the ecology of the Grimm is like.
I don't either, and I
Though
don't think we should try to speculate.
Given the context of the series, it wouldn't surprise me if there was a seasons tie-in.
It would surprise me if there was a season tie-in, actually, because they don't need to eat food. They don't need to migrate. They
No, I mean
go
I'm
after
just
humans.
talking about the season theme of the maidens.
Oh, okay.
So it wouldn't surprise me if that theme was continued. If there's like, because I mean we don't know much
Okay.
about the connections.
I actually think, counter to that point,
Okay.
that Grimm are essentially the opposing force of the seasons and the maidens, so they wouldn't care. I think to that degree they are more of a they are just there as a
True.
entity that seemingly opposes the Ozpin maiden force. So to some degree. So I think that they would be much more arrhythmic. Apologies, but we are laughing because they're
It's not important.
It's not important, but we find it humorous.
Anyway, so then so Yang hits the tree. RWBY
Yup.
runs up to her,
Yay.
and she apologizes.
Yeah.
Yang, I'm sorry. I didn't know how to help without my scythe.
Yeah, which is okay because that was the point of the training is so that she could learn. So, and clearly throughout the training you can see that, oh, she's not that good at this.
Not her fault.
Yeah, so it's not really her fault that she couldn't do that much. Had she brought Crimson Rose with her, totally different story. But she wasn't allowed to, so she wasn't able to do much. It's not her specialty. It's fair that she couldn't really do much. And then Yang's like, don't worry, I always got your back, sis. Which
It's
is so
okay.
touching.
I always got your back, sis.
It's so nice. Oh, the nice sisterly bond.
And I just wanted to bring this up because I saw this in like one of the comments somewhere
Okay.
about how it's an interesting parallel to the Weiss trailer character short. Call it what you will. Yang says to
Yeah.
RWBY in this trailer, "I've always got your back, sis." Whereas Winter says to Weiss,
Yeah.
"I'm not always going to be there for you."
Yeah. Which, okay. That they are very different in terms of one is saying I always will be able to protect you, and the other one's like I won't always be able to. But I think one of those is much more realistic. I think Winter is justified in saying that I won't always be able to protect you. Like this is a fact of life, that I won't be able to protect you from Grimm all the time.
Right. I mean, to be fair, they're both kind of teaching. They're both trying to teach their younger sisters
Yes.
the same lesson.
Yes.
Because despite what they're saying, or
Yeah.
despite what they say in that one line,
Yes.
because obviously Winter's trying to teach Weiss to get
Yes.
stronger on her own, and Yang is teaching RWBY the same thing.
Yes.
So yeah, but
Yeah.
it's just like I don't know.
It's a
I guess
different parallel.
It's an interesting parallel to
Yeah.
the sisterly relationship.
Yeah, I mean it's a little bit different in terms of, I guess you can say, like one might be arguably a bit more loving or compassionate, but I feel that Winter does care a lot about her sister. It's just that she does have other priorities, and she's very aware of the fact, like she grew up in the Schnee family as well, and she knows that the only way you're really going to be able to get out is that you prove you can take care of yourself.
There are a lot of sisters in this show.
Yes.
Just throwing that out there.
Okay.
I just because Weiss has a sister.
Yep.
Crow's sister is Raven.
Yep.
The four maidens are sisters.
What? Oh, yes, in the initial story. Okay.
Yeah, the initial four maidens.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Major spoilers.
Ba, ba, ba. No.
Just kidding.
That would be really interesting, actually. I don't know how that would work. Unless you're going back to, like, all humans have a common ancestry kind of vibe. But eh. eh. Although this, I mean, arguably, Remnant also has that kind of thing where they all came from like that good guy god thing. Do you remember that World
No.
of Remnant video? Okay, basic shtick is that, and correct me if I'm wrong in comments and such, but there was this essentially good like white god guy thing that pretty much made things, like made and created things.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then his brother
It's coming back to
made things to specifically to destroy his work, and then they got over fights, and then eventually they're like, okay, we can work this out. I
Right,
make
right.
things and you make things that kind of go against my things, and that's essentially the argument of humanity and Grimm.
Right. I thought
Yeah.
the thing with like humanity is that they could like choose whether to be good or evil.
Oh yeah, it was.
I
Oh right.
think
That was the
that was like the
right.
compromise.
That was the compromise. Is that together they made humans that have the potential of doing both.
I should really rewatch those videos, and we
Yes.
should really talk about those videos.
Oh, we will.
We will.
We will when it comes into the actual timeline.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Alrighty. Now I believe we can get back into Ignite.
Yes. So
Yes.
the second half of the song.
Second half of the condensed version of the song.
Yeah.
Begins with the word fool. I just like that. It's just like how it's almost to the point of how dare you try to fight me.
Yeah.
And
It's
just shows more cockiness.
it's very much the same theme as the very the first part of the song we
Yeah.
saw with the cockiness.
But more so in terms of like, hey, why are you trying to fight me when I'm just this powerful? Like, do you see me in this state? You can't beat me in this state. One punch and you be dead. Kind of scenario going on at the moment.
And specifically, it seems to be about her when she's powered up in her semblance.
Yes.
Because I mean that is what's going on in the trailer.
Yeah, it says you don't want to mess with me. I'm something higher. Like specifically when she's powered up.
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah, that you're pretty much going to get the snot beat out of you. And that it's pretty much that you're almost going to die now. Like, your little mistake of a life. It's like, gosh, like, you didn't want to get in this fight. And now you're just going to watch me ignite. Yep. That is pretty much what happened. Her powers flared. She punched the Ursa's arm. That didn't go well for the Ursa, as we already mentioned. Man, do you have anything you want to mention about this portion? Because I think you can sum it up pretty easily with this is kind of... previously, it was Yang in her non-powered up state. And then with a small transition of, oh, hey, this is an issue. And then Yang in her powered up state, which is why she has the cockiness kind. Well, not why, because she has it because she's skilled as a fighter and because her semblance is super powerful.
Right. Yeah.
In various
I mean, I think to me that it's pretty much it shares a pretty similar message to the first part of the song, like I said, where it's just like it's her mindset of, she's the strongest, she's really cocky, she's really confident in her fighting skill, etc. I mean, as we see, this only carries her so far.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, to me, that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
So I don't have anything else to say about it.
Okay. In that case, so then, song's over. You have the cut to Yang on her motorcycle. She has her eyes down, which I think is just showing that she's remembering this. She then looks back up to show, okay, she's not remembering this anymore. And then, interestingly, she like kind of seems to get like angry, or I was thinking either angry or determined, and then goes forward.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't think it was angry. I think for me it felt like a little bit more determined than angry.
She did look a little angry.
She did look a little angry, which I think the best way of talking about that is that maybe how you were saying that what she has learned from Ty, and it's like, man, look how I was, and like angry about the fact that that's maybe how she dealt with that, maybe.
Yeah, one thing I'm thinking about just thinking about it just now, is that, I mean, like, one of the last things she says to Ruby in the trailer is,
Yeah.
"Don't worry, sis, I've always got your back."
Yeah.
So maybe what she's thinking is that, when her sister needed her, like, post Fall of Beacon
Yeah.
Fallout,
Oh.
like, she wasn't really there for Ruby because she was tending to her own problems.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she kind of left Ruby to deal with the problems on her own.
Yeah. Which is when Ruby leaves.
So maybe, I think that this trailer points pretty strongly to that Yang is going to see Ruby, because this
Yes.
trailer is all about how strong the Ruby-Yang relationship is and how
Yes.
much Yang cares about Ruby.
Yes.
So, it would be kind of surprising if she didn't go to Ruby.
I agree.
And so I think that thinking about it now and how that look of determination, sort of maybe anger at herself,
Mhm.
could be thinking about how she failed to sort of maybe fulfill her sisterly duties as she perceives
Yeah.
them. I mean, I think that also lends strength to the fact that, or the theory that she's going to Ruby.
Yes. This is exactly why I believe she is going to Ruby.
Yeah.
Because she has this flashback with Ruby, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna go find my sister and help her out. Gosh darn it. But something you just pointed out made me think about how you mentioned earlier that the common theme between the three trailers, and I think that this is also a common theme between the three trailers, of the expressions that the characters have after these flashbacks, kind of, or after these encounters. Because you have Weiss when when she wakes up, she kind of like looks out the window and sighs, and it's like, oh, these problems aren't dealt with yet. Then you have Yang, who's like, okay, this look of maybe determination or anger, like, oh, I maybe let someone down, or now I have, or like this problem still isn't solved yet. And then Blake, it's like, oh, I let this person get away when I really shouldn't have.
Right. She's kind of like, angry at herself maybe at the end of that.
It's kind of like all setting up a small line of tension of like, these are issues, and which is a great way to, I believe, to lead into potentially how these things are going to get resolved.
Yeah, you're right. I
Yeah.
mean, all these trailers, I think they really bring in an issue to the forefront
Yes.
for each of the character arcs.
Yes.
And where is this character going to be going in the next volume?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
All
they're
right.
really successful in that.
All right. So one more thing. I mean, we've kind of already gone through it, but I wanted to just talk a little bit about the character shorts and kind of like maybe what each one really like showed, because this is the last one. So
You're right.
this could be the capstone of the character shorts, and kind of like just talking a little bit about each one, what we really think it highlights for like what Volume 5 might have. So for Weiss, and barring their potential development as characters and dealing with these problems, simply because I believe we have already discussed that enough, unless you want to bring up more. But Weiss's, I think it showed how beautiful the animation is going to be. Like, I think it highlighted that very well.
Yep.
For Blake's, I think it's kind of show like, okay, so...
Weiss, also the music, because we've got
Yes.
pretty much a full
Ooh.
song.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Also how the music, as always, is going to be fantastic.
Mhm.
Blake's kind of showing how the relationships between characters and conflicts, and also kind of crowds and like environments are going to be solid.
Right, and maybe also we could expect sort of like interesting, non-traditional sort of, because the Blake trailer has the current action, and then overlaid that is the
Yes.
the flashback audio.
Yeah. Oh, how there might be like more flashbacky stuff. Maybe?
Well, I mean, no, I guess I'm just trying to point out that like maybe they could be a little more adventurous in like the style of how they tell their stories. because-
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Okay, that makes sense. And then for Yang's, for me, it was fighting style, and also that the Grimm looked different. Like, we already knew that from Volume 4, but just another reminder of that. The Grimm, like, the style of the Grimm, it looks a little bit different. The way Grimm moves is pretty, like, it was pretty good, in my opinion, of how the Ursa was, like, moving around, how it was attacking, and stuff like that.
How it had like the black shadow thing.
Yeah. And then
particle
how...
effects or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, those are pretty much the main things. It's like it really shows where kind of like what the level that we should expect
Yeah,
in terms
you're right.
of quality.
On top of the story things that they showcase, they also do a good job of showcasing the mechanical improvements that they've made over the past, 9 months or whatever since
Volume 4.
Volume 4 ended.
Yeah, because as we have mentioned, as we have mentioned, Volume 4 was potentially a little bit choppy in those departments, which warranted, and not going to talk about why they're warranted again. But
yeah, let's just repeat that every 2 episodes.
No.
But yeah, the Volume 5 stuff was great.
Yeah.
Looks great so far.
It does. It does look very great. After seeing these trailers, it really made me feel that
You got this.
After seeing these trailers, they acted like a really good introduction to Volume 5.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like I'm ready. I'm ready to watch some Volume 5. Got hyped up as a result because the music and the better fight scenes.
I watched these trailers so many times when they first came out.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to say before?
No.
Okay.
I think that's pretty much all I have to say.
All right. Summary. We pretty much talked about the portions of Ignite, Yang's development, as you can see from primarily the issues that she kind of had pre-Volume 4, and how they are truly issues that she needs to work out, and how we argue that throughout Volume 4 she at least gets a better grip on some of them and develops a better sense of to think before she punches.
Yeah, and we talked about how her fighting style in this video was sort of emblematic of that, of how she used to be and how that ties into her character development.
Yeah, and also that her fighting style of propelling herself and then using her shotguns is, as always, neat, but sometimes she kind of gets a little bit out of hand. Primary example, Flint and Neon, where she kind of just loses it. So hopefully she's not like that anymore, 'cause that's not very good. Okay, so next we're gonna do the the opening for Volume 5.
That's our next podcast episode.
Yes, that is our next episode, so please look forward to that. That is going to be a doozy. Oh yeah. And then, so thank you very much for listening to the non-spoiler section of the Yang character short.
Yes, as always, we're going to post this on YouTube. Feel free to leave us any comments or send us any emails at RWBYRamblings@gmail.com.
Yes, SoundCloud, we still are maxed out at our 3-hour limit due to episode 14. No, so chapter 14, whichever episode it happens to be. Apologies if I don't remember. I think it's 6, but...
All right.
But anyway, we are now going to move on to the spoiler section. If you have not seen all of Volume 5, please stop now.
Cease.
Yes. Alrighty. Once again, really, spoilers are about where...
Alright.
Alright. Let's go.
Spoiler mode.
Spoiler mode. Okay, so... Yeah, do you want to start?
I was just going to say, I don't have a whole lot written down about the spoilers.
Sure.
Because it's mostly just about how this sort of foreshadows the events of Volume 5.
Yeah.
But, yeah, what do you think about this trailer in hindsight?
Sure. A few things. Yang's development, stellar. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's incredible. You see this event that happened before the series even started, and although her fight... you see, she's an amazing fighter. But she isn't... she lacks the...
tactics?
Yeah, she lacks tactics and doesn't exactly think things through enough to use the skill that she has developed over the years. But in Volume 5, you see...
That changes dramatically.
That changes fantastically.
And I mentioned this in our Volume 5 episodes, which, depending on which order you're watching this, is either earlier or later.
Yes.
Um, but I mentioned how the development we see from Yang, it catapults her from, like, one of my, lower, least favorite of the four RWBY girls to, I like her a lot more after seeing how much she developed through this.
I can't argue against that.
And in fighting alone, I think you can really see that in the Yang versus Bandits fight near the beginning of Volume 5, because, oh my god, when you compare her fighting style in that to this, to me, it's like night and day.
Yeah, she pretty much uses all skill. She doesn't have to use her semblance once.
Right,
and she barely even has to use her shotgun gauntlets. She's just smoothly taking out all these guys without even breaking a sweat. It's very impressive to see where she was in this fight. Because in this fight, okay, it's impressive that she's jumping around dodging this Ursa. But in the way that she's just calmly dealing with all these things going on at one time and just like, I don't have to deal with any of that. Block, punch, boom, boom, bang. It's really great.
Yeah, and you can, just like, again, more specifically with the Bandits fight, we talked about a lot in this episode about how Yang keeps throwing herself at her problems and how she wants to go through them instead of around them. You can see that literally in the Bandit fight when she charges at the guy with the gun.
Yeah.
And yeah, she, instead of, as she's about to hit him, he, like, winds up to hit her, and instead of meeting him head on, what she does is she shotgun gauntlets the ground, does a sick kickflip over him, and lands behind him and punches him, which is a really sick move.
Yes, and also one that works amazingly with her abilities.
And it's just, my point is that it's just an example of her, like, thinking and not, like, thinking about other ways to handle her problems, which, like, hooray, good work.
Yeah, it shows that Ty's training hit home, and that is probably going to make her a much better fighter. Also, we got to see her new arm in action. It was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, you see what it's like when she fights Mercury again, which the first time she fought Mercury, only reason she won was her semblance. Now, it seems like she can fight him on equal footing without needing that at all. And that's especially what you see when Mercury grabs her robot arm when she's about to go dive into go after Raven. She has that instant flash of red eyes, but then realizes...
Then she gets under control.
Yeah, she gets under control, deconnects her arm, which they smoothly showed in episode 7 when they're all gathered around and having fun, and Nora had that arm wrestling contest with her.
Yep. That
was a very good way of introducing that and then having it matter.
Oh, yeah.
Which is something RWBY does very well.
Yes.
Silver Eyes is a prime example. But, yes, it certainly shows that Yang has developed in a way where her semblance is not something she needs to do well in a fight anymore, seemingly. But yeah, another thing is that, well, we already mentioned how the Red Eyes doesn't really need to use that at the moment, and that she's much smarter about how she fights. But one thing I want to talk about is in Volume 5, there really aren't that many Grimm.
I'm thinking back on it.
I'm
thinking back on it.
They're just those overseers.
Yeah, it's really just the seer Grimm.
Like this, this Ursa is one of the only Grimm in this. Lancers.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Is one of the only Grimm in this entire volume. Think about that.
No, you're right. I hadn't really thought about that.
Think about how that has shifted from the other volumes of Grimm. Look at all these Grimm.
Well,
these
I like
are
that.
the things we have to fight. Now it's, we have to fight these people.
I like that a lot. It's more interesting to me.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we're not fighting these, in some instances, not very thoughtful monsters.
Right, yeah, definitely. Because, with the Grimm, it's like, they're just sort of generically evil. And, they just want to kill people.
No, not all of them, but Goliath is my primary example. Goliath in Volume 2
Well, they do. They're just smart about it.
Yeah.
Or marginally smarter about it.
Yeah.
But, they don't really have a motivation that we know.
Yes.
Other than, kill people.
Yeah.
But, when they're fighting other actual people, then
Yeah.
obviously it's more interesting because they're real people with
Yeah.
real, reasonable motivations.
And it's much more complex, and it's not just super action heavy because you have multiple things trying to make decisions instead of something you know is going to constantly just keep coming after you, which the closest thing to that kind of fighting style is Hazel. Of it's just like wah wah wah,
Right, where he's just wailing on people.
or he's wailing on people because he can.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was something I found interesting, is that this is one of the only Grimm you see in all of Volume 5.
Yeah, you're right.
So I find that fascinating. Besides that, it's just kind of the Lancers, which they were neat. Weiss spawns the Queen Lancer again, and that doesn't go well for Hazel, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And so, and I guess we've already talked about this probably a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, it looked like you were going to say something.
Oh, I was just going to say, she goes to Raven. She goes to Raven first.
Oh, yes, I was going to mention that. When I saw Volume 1 in theaters,
You mean Episode 1.
yeah, that is what I meant.
You're fine.
I'm sorry. When I saw Episode 1 in theaters even before I saw the Yang trailer, I was shocked, and we can talk about this obviously more, so I won't go too much into it, but I was
No,
just...
we can talk about it now.
I was shocked that Yang went to Raven first, because it wasn't explained in that episode.
No.
About, like...
But it makes sense
what her...
when it does.
Yeah,
later.
it makes sense in context, but I just left that theater and I was like, what the hell? Like, what is she
Yeah.
doing? Like, I thought she
Yeah.
cared about her sister, but apparently she doesn't.
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting way of doing it, where it's like, oh, hey, she's going for the bandit camp first, and then it's like, wait, what about Ruby? Why aren't you going for Ruby? But it turns out the reason she doesn't go for Ruby is because, 1, she knows Crow is with Ruby. 2, Raven can make portals to people she cares about, and on that list, Crow is there. 3, she probably doesn't know where Ruby is, and it's not like she has a homing beacon or like tracking device. There's no GPS as far as I know, although Atlas probably has some. But so she doesn't know where Ruby is, so just instead of going on a blind search, just go to a person she knows can get her there immediately.
Which, again, et cetera, character development, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, just talking about that. Hey, she's smart. We already knew that she was smart, just maybe not necessarily in the way that she fought. So this is to show that she's thinking a little bit more and how far that really gets her.
Yes, right, exactly.
Yeah.
And
then,
one thing that I thought of when I was rewatching this, and this ties in with her character development, which we've already talked about a lot, but when she's doing the foreshadowing thing with RWBY, and she says, sometimes you have to stand and face your problems, no matter what.
Yeah.
It's just, that's pretty much what she says to Raven.
Yeah.
Later on, so I think that's just good foreshadowing of that, and I think it is true that in all the trailers, that foreshadowing, it's true that they all have to face their problems. Weiss less so, because I think her problem is with like the rest of her family,
which is happening.
Which will happen in Volume 5.
Yeah.
But she does have to, presumably. But Volume 6, sorry.
Yeah.
But
fine.
you know what I meant.
Yeah.
But she does have to face more of like being on her own and without Winter.
And using her powers in a way that is practical. Because channeling her abilities for too long gets her in a situation where she might die. Which, if that wasn't clear with a whole bunch of Beowulf are now about to tear her to pieces, compared to you just got beat up by Vernal and then a spear through your gut. I don't really know how else to highlight that, except that she couldn't summon her soldier. And that didn't end well for her at all.
Yeah.
But going back to Yang stuff, something that's kind of interesting is we're talking about how she went to Raven first, and kind of a little bit of their interactions with each other, like that none of that is really in this trailer. Like, it doesn't really mention Raven at all, which I think is maybe to lead us to think, oh, she's going to RWBY, but also that's where her priorities lie. Like, yes, she does care about her mom, and that's clear when she cries after their conversation. She's kind of like, man, I wish things weren't like this. Like, she does want to have a relationship with her mom, but she knows where she stands and that she needs to stand there. Like, that idea that you need to stand your ground and sometimes you can't run away, she shows that to her mother.
Yes,
and her mother
right.
cannot handle that because her
Right.
mother does not have that within her.
Right. And yeah, sorry, I was just thinking back, like, we didn't see any like Raven cameos in this trailer, did we?
None.
Like no birds, suspicious looking birds.
You know, I didn't look for that.
I didn't either, but I don't remember any.
What if during that like shock wave, there's like a tiny instance of you see like a fluttering
Yeah,
raven?
there probably is.
She's probably you know what? She might not be there. She might not. Who knows? I don't know.
Wouldn't surprise me.
It wouldn't surprise me if she is somewhere in that video, but I don't know where she is. That'd be hilarious, though. It's like, hey, look, it's Raven again. But one more thing I want to point out is that Ruby got a little bit better at hand-to-hand combat. She headbutted.
Oh yeah, that's definitely
Mercury.
something that's tied up in the course of Volume 5.
Yeah.
Where she learns from Oz and then shows it in the fight against Mercury.
Yes. So that was neat. It has that double. So in some way, this kind of acted slightly as a RWBY trailer.
Yeah, you're right. I was thinking that as well.
Yeah, where it kind of just showed, oh hey, look, this little nod to RWBY not being able to do anything without Crimson Rose too. She gets disarmed and then does something about it. That's exactly the scenario that we were talking about. Of oh hey, what happens when she gets disarmed? Isn't she screwed? Not anymore. So that's really good to see. It has all four characters showing various different ways of developing, and through these tiny little character shorts, as they are called, shorts.
Yes.
So yeah, good way to start off Volume 5.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Anything else you want to mention before we call this episode to a close?
No, I really didn't have too much else to say about it in retrospect.
Okay. I mean, the only other things we can kind of talk about is what might happen with Yang in Atlas, but I think we beat that to death a little bit in Blake's when we talked about what happens when she runs into Adam. Because besides that, I think it's just going to be her dealing with talking to other people and like fighting in a way that is smart. But one thing I do look forward to is seeing how Team RWBY, like all of their fighting skills have improved in some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
So seeing how they now can work together.
Oh yeah, that's going to be good to see for sure. I haven't really thought of that.
That's going to be very interesting.
But yeah, they're all much stronger than they were when we saw them last work together as a team.
Yeah.
So yeah, it will be great to see them, and I am looking forward to seeing how Yang sort of maintains this sort of new level-headedness, and I think that sort of all of their like improved personalities, I guess, are going to add to their increased team dynamic.
Yeah.
Because
I think they're going to be surprised. Like, as Weiss was surprised when she's like, weren't you the quiet one, Blake?
Right, exactly. Like, they're all different.
Yeah, they're all different in ways that they are going to pick up on and question. They're going to be like, wait. Like, I have a feeling all three of them are going to, well, maybe not RWBY, are going to do like a double take on when they see how Yang fights now. They'll be like, did you dodge that instead of just punching him in the face? What? What? Whoa. I didn't know you could do that. Like, I didn't know you were capable of doing something cool like that. Dang, nice job. Oh, also, how she fights with her new arm is neat.
Yes.
And how she might use it later, and how the detachable thing is... But as we already mentioned, how that became important.
Yep.
Like, how that might matter later. Like, who knows what's in that arm? Maybe there's a GPS thing in that.
True. Maybe. It is state-of-the-art Atlas tech.
It is. Maybe
We've already talked about that.
Yeah, maybe it can move on its own. I don't believe that, though.
That's a
hot
theory.
Because that sounds insane. But yeah.
Yeah, I think the only other thing I think of is that, like, how will Yang react when she meets up with Raven again?
Uh-huh.
I don't know if we've talked about that. I don't know if there's much to say about that because it's just speculation.
I think we already saw how she kind of reacted. It was like instant shock of like, oh my goodness gracious, into then, like, yeah, this is okay. That the fact that you are here and that you have come back of your own volition, that's okay. Like, good for you. I can accept the fact that you've come back, and we can deal with this. That it's a much different approach of, instead of hot-headed, much more compassionate and kind of coming from a place of caring. And I mean, we can talk more about how what came out of the conversation Weiss and Yang had about how Blake left and how that wouldn't be a problem, but I think it's very nicely resolved. Not fully resolved, but at least initially resolved when they all get back together. Also, they're all back together, which we already mentioned.
Thinking back to what you just brought up, it just reminded me about how, like, one of the other significant Yang development things we see in Volume 5 is how I mean, she has those sort of, like, I guess, emotional problems when Blake is brought up.
Yeah.
Initially, and how she has trouble forgiving her at first.
Yes.
And then how it takes Weiss talking to her to, like, sort of snap her out of it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I think that's interesting is because this trailer sort of plays up the relationship between RWBY and Yang, etc. And I think it's interesting how, you know, when she's in this emotional state, when Weiss first opens the door, she thinks it's RWBY, and she's like, "Go away, RWBY. Like, I don't really want to talk about it right now."
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, it's you, Weiss."
Right. Which, yeah. I don't know. So I guess it just goes to show that they love each other, but I guess their relationship isn't. You could say it's not super one-sided. I mean, it's not like. No. Like, it's more complicated than just.
Yeah. There's mutual trust and among other things being built. I mean, I was actually going to point that out as well, and I'm happy you brought it up. The only other thing I would add to that is that I was really happy that Weiss actually showed up. I mean, RWBY shows up later, because she's like, oh yeah. Which, to show that, RWBY was going to show up as well, is just Weiss beat her to the punch. So, once again, that just shows very interesting new dynamics in terms of their team and what their team will be and their relationships and such like that. And it's going to be very amazing to see more of now that they're actually all together. Ooh. Yay! Oh, and one more thing. Yang's shaking. Interestingly, it's an issue that we see come up occasionally. It comes up a little bit before she gets into a fight, like a little bit with the bandits and such. But the one time that it really comes up is when they start mentioning Blake, and that's actually the one time that she really has red eyes, which is interesting, and also comes up a little bit when she's talking to her mother, which is when her mother's like, "Oh, you're just a scared little girl," and stuff like that. But I think that shows that Yang is not fully over her trauma, and I've mentioned this before, but I think this will come up with Adam in particular, but also potentially with other emotional issues as well.
Right, I agree, and yeah, I think what you're getting at is that she's improved a lot in her physical fighting style and her thinking clearly in combat, not having the red eyes then, but she still has to work on, like, maybe the emotional impacts of controlling her emotions.
Yeah, I think in general also her personality is a little bit better, because after well, not better, but she's a bit more calmer and able to think things through a little bit more, and not as quickly to anger. And I think that you can see that pretty well when right after she flares up and her eyes turn red, she realizes, clearly Weiss and RWBY reacted to that, and as a result she realizes, oh no, I must have flared up, and she kind of like looks away and feels bad and kind of like leaves, because she's like, oh, I definitely don't want to be angry at my friends, which is good. Like, typically she'd kind of maybe be a little bit more jabby and a bit more angry about it, and she'd get a little bit more into it, a little bit more heated, but this time she disengaged and went to go think about it on her own.
Right.
One other thing I want to bring up, because it just happened to come up, I'm sorry, is we haven't seen Neo in a while. And, a few other things, actually. We haven't seen Neo in a while, which is someone that she has fought. I'm sorry, I had ideas.
Did we already talk about not seeing Neo? or was that just us out of the podcast?
No,
I don't remember.
I believe we have talked about it in the podcast, but that is significant because next time she runs into Yang, like she wiped the floor with Yang last time.
Oh yeah, that was great.
I think that'd be very different this time. I think this time Yang would have a much better time. Not an amazingly better time, because I think Neo's still out of her league. But I think she would come up with something and hit her at least once, and Neo would be shocked.
Huh. You have a good point, because yeah, part of the reason that Neo won so hard the first time is because she was a smarter fighter than Yang.
Yes.
In that, she was specifically throwing her around and not hitting her too hard in such a way that her semblance didn't activate before she was lying on the floor.
Yes.
So yeah, you're right. Maybe if Yang is a little smarter about fighting a smart opponent, it could go differently. That's a good point. And here's hoping Neo comes up sometime ever.
I mean, I have a feeling she is going to, if she becomes relevant, it is either going to be in Volume 6 or potentially after, depending on what happens. But something that is much more prevalent and possible in Volume 6, because Atlas, Flint, and Neon. The last time Yang fought them, only reason she won was her semblance. This time, I think she'd do a much better job. I think Neo would try to taunt her. And
I don't think they're gonna fight again.
No, but I think Neo would instantly realize Yang is different. Like, she would try to taunt her, and then Yang would kind of be like, whatever. And then Neon would just be shocked. She's just kind of like, wait. You're okay with that now?
That's a good point.
You don't have anger issue. That's not okay. You are much more interesting human now.
That's a good point. You're right.
So I think they would do a double take if they ran into. Oh, and Flint would have a double take.
Yeah, Flint's on Wise too.
Yes. Oh! I really hope they run into them because that.
Well,
I think they will.
I mean, okay, I already mentioned this obviously, but
you did.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping that they'd run into the students from Mistral.
Yeah.
That never happened. So here's hoping they run into the students from Atlas.
I think that's a bit more probable because in Mistral, they had, in Haven in particular, they had the upper hand they had control of the principal. There's no way they have control of Ironwood.
Right, yeah.
None.
You're right.
So the students are going to be around.
Hopefully.
Which is why it's potentially a potential thought that, it might be Beacon all over again. You have this arguably well-defended area and something that should have high security and be able to deal with a scenario get cracked open and destroy a lot of peace within the world. So here's to hoping that doesn't happen with the end of the introduction to Volume 5.
Good sentence.
Sure. Anyway, pretty much what we talked about is how Yang has improved in leaps and bounds in ways I couldn't believe, and as Ben said, became a much more higher ranked character in the list of great characters in RWBY, which it's hard to advance in that list.
Oh.
Because there's a lot of good ones. Besides that, a little bit about where the frick are the Grimm?
Oh, true.
Because there ain't many of those. Which is fine because there are more humans, and humans are potentially more complex. I hope that gets proven wrong later because that would be great. And is there anything else you want to add to the summary of what we talked about in the spoiler section? We didn't really talk about the song, but I don't think there's really much to talk about there.
No, because I think that was mostly just about how Yang was pre the volumes, and I think we pretty much covered that. Yeah,
the only interesting thing is that if there is a counter song, there's probably one that's going to happen.
Well, I guess one thing I could say is specifically about the Scathing Eyes quote.
Yes.
It's that, Volume 5 only proved that Yang is a more complex character.
Yes.
And, we saw that after Volume 4, but we certainly saw that, when she actually put it to use in Volume 5.
Okay.
How she's more than meets the eye.
Yeah, most definitely now. Also beforehand.
Yeah, but that's pretty much it about that.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Thank you very much for listening to the spoiler section of the Yang character short. We plan on doing the opening to Volume 5 next, so look forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be very fun. Besides that, yeah, that's, once again, thank you. If you want to post a comment or question, please either put it in the comments section or send it to our email at rubyramblings@gmail.com. Thank you very much. I've said that a few too many times. And see you next time.